At 73 years old, the speaker reveals a hard truth. Society has fed us a collective lie about the trajectory of life. We are taught by parents, teachers, and mentors that life is a series of stages to be unlocked through hard work and delayed gratification. However, this elder statesman argues that those who give this advice are often just as lost as those receiving it. He spent 50 years of his life following the standard script, building a career, securing a house, and gaining the hollow respect of his peers, only to realize that he was essentially a stranger to his own life. The wisdom we are sold is often just a mask for a life lived on autopilot, where we prioritize the expectations of others over our own internal fulfillment. The wake-up call, face to face with mortality. The turning point came at age 52 during a routine business meeting, a moment where the quarterly projections he was discussing suddenly became irrelevant. A major cardiac event shattered his reality, moving him from a boardroom to a hospital bed draped in tubes. While the medical staff called him lucky for surviving, the true luck lay in the terrifying realization that followed. If he had died that afternoon, his legacy would have been nothing more than a collection of bank statements and professional titles that would be forgotten within years. This moment served as a brutal mirror, showing him that he hadn't been truly alive. He was merely a participant in a series of motions, checking off boxes while his soul remained dormant. The myth of someday and the moving goalposts. The most dangerous phrase in the human language is, "I have time." We tell ourselves that happiness is a destination located just past the next promotion, the next pay raise, or the moment the children finally grow up. This is a mirage. The speaker points out that the goalposts of success are designed to keep moving. The more you achieve, the more you feel you lack. Young people in their 20s and 30s sacrifice their present joy for a future that is never guaranteed. By the time many reach 70, they are left wondering where the decades went, realizing they spent 30 years climbing a ladder only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. You cannot reclaim lost time. It is the only resource that is strictly non-renewable. The empty promise of success and the hamster wheel. Success, as defined by the modern world, is a terrible goal. The high of achieving a major milestone, making partner at a firm, or buying a dream home, lasts for approximately 48 hours before the baseline returns. This creates a hamster wheel effect, where you are constantly chasing the next hit of validation to feel worthy. The speaker illustrates this with the tragic story of a friend who built a multi-million-dollar business but worked 70-hour weeks until a fatal stroke. At his funeral, the most heartbreaking tribute came from his own son, who admitted he barely knew the man behind the success. This raises the ultimate question: is a legacy of wealth worth the cost of being a stranger to those you love? The weight of regret, roads not taken. When you reach the end of your life, your regrets will not be focused on the mistakes you made or the business deals that failed. Instead, you will be haunted by the things you didn't do. The speaker confesses that his sleepless nights are caused by the ghost of a trip to Japan he was too busy for, a book he never started, and a relationship with his brother that he allowed to wither away. These roads not taken eat at the heart, because they represent missed opportunities for love and growth that can never be recovered. We treat time with our parents and siblings as if it were unlimited, but the reality is that the clock is always winding down. The speaker's greatest pain is the silence left by his father's sudden death, the calls not made and the dinners missed because he was too tired. Reclaiming life. The richness of intentional living. Following his heart attack, the speaker spent the next 21 years unlearning the lies of his youth. He discovered that the ingredients for a rich life are embarrassingly simple: quality time with loved ones, work that feels personally meaningful, not just profitable, and the collection of experiences rather than possessions. He stopped waiting for permission to be happy. At 73, he is happier than he was at 30, despite having much less time left on the clock. This is the ultimate irony of the human condition. It is only when we truly internalize that our time is limited that we finally begin to live. He has spent his borrowed time traveling, deepening family bonds, and practicing forgiveness, proving that it is never too late to start living intentionally, provided you start now. 3. The power of borrowed time and radical presence. At 73, the speaker lives with a beautiful urgency. Most young people live as if they are immortal, which paradoxically leads to a waste of time. They kill time because they think they have an infinite supply of it. The speaker, however, views every sunrise as a gift of borrowed time. This awareness creates a radical presence. When he sits with his wife, he is not thinking about the next hour. He is looking into her eyes and listening to the cadence of her voice. He has mastered the art of being, which is far more difficult than the art of doing. He understands the irony. By accepting that his time is limited, he has finally found a way to make it feel eternal. 4. The discipline of forgiveness and deepening bonds. One of the most profound ways he reclaimed his life was through the difficult work of emotional clearing. He realized that holding on to grudges is like carrying heavy luggage on a journey that is already tiring. He went back to people he had hurt or who had hurt him. He chose forgiveness, not because the other person deserved it, but because his own soul deserved peace. He deepened his family bonds by moving past surface-level conversations. He started asking his children about their fears, their dreams, and their regrets. He replaced the busyness of family life with the business of soul connection. He proved that it is never too late to repair a bridge, provided you are willing to walk across it first. The ultimate conclusion: the now mandate. The speaker's message culminates in a single piercing truth. The perfect time is a ghost. If you are waiting for the kids to finish school, for the mortgage to be paid, or for the weather to be just right, you are participating in your own stagnation. The richness of intentional living is available to the 30-year-old just as much as the 73-year-old. The only difference is that the 73-year-old no longer has the luxury of pretending he can wait. By starting now, you bypass decades of potential regret. You stop living for a someday that never arrives and begin living in a today that actually matters. Reclaiming life represents the emotional and spiritual climax of the speaker's journey. To expand on this, we must look deeper into the psychological shift from extrinsic motivation, seeking approval and money, to intrinsic fulfillment, seeking peace and connection. The architecture of a reclaimed life, living with intention. The speaker's transformation over the last 21 years was not a sudden burst of luck, but a radical daily decision to unlearn the cultural programming of his youth. After his heart attack, he realized that he had spent half a century building a life that looked good from the outside but felt empty on the inside. Reclaiming his life meant tearing down the old structures of shoulds and musts and replacing them with a foundation of intentionality. 1. The shift from accumulation to experience. For decades, the speaker believed the lie that more was the solution to every problem. More square footage in his home, more titles on his business card, and more zeros in his bank account. However, lying in that hospital bed, he realized that he couldn't feel his possessions. They provided no comfort. He discovered that a rich life is built on memories, not inventory. He began to prioritize experiential wealth, the kind that lives in the mind and the heart. This involved traveling not just to see places, but to be changed by them. It meant sitting in a small cafe in a foreign land and feeling the sun on his face, fully present, rather than checking his emails. He realized that while possessions depreciate and break, a shared memory with a grandchild only grows more valuable with time. 2. Redefining work and contribution. The speaker did not necessarily stop being productive, but he stopped being a slave to profitability. He moved away from work that was merely a transaction for survival or status. He sought out meaningful contribution. He learned that when work is aligned with your soul's values, it doesn't drain you, it feeds you. This might mean mentoring a younger person, volunteering for a cause that actually keeps you awake at night with passion, or finally pursuing a creative hobby that was suppressed for years. He realized that the world doesn't need more successful people in the traditional sense. It needs more people who are fully alive and doing work that reflects their true selves.